Hey,
What you got?
We're gonna get some crews together, me and Mike.
Word. We got all the work we can handle. We're getting YouTube famous, Mikey.
Yeah, you hear that? He said we're getting YouTube famous.
So yo, don't put me on YouTube, please.
Okay, you're not gonna go on YouTube.
I'm serious, man.
Okay, I mean, we're just doing audio podcast, man. No Joe Rogan shit.
About the art of the acquisition and the importance of building teamwork. We got Trey. Trey's our main acquisitions guy. He's killing it. We're going to talk a little bit about going out on appointments, talking with motivated sellers, and figuring out how to structure deals. But we got this Jones Street project that we're about finished with. Rehab's been, about a month and a half. We got the team. They put new carpet in it, repainted, got a new AC unit installed. And we'll take a quick walk around, and after that, talk about how we're gonna lock up more deals. Let's take a look. So this house, when Trey first met with Miss Crib, had some termite damage. The floors were a little bit eaten up. The kitchen was destroyed. It needed a good amount of work. So we took it down. Talk about how that kind of played out and the importance of building rapport when you're meeting with people.
Well, with Miss Crib, she was distressed, obviously a distressed seller. When I got down and broke that wall down that she had up, her mother was in a nursing home and she needed some money, to keep continuing to pay her bills because she's terminally ill at the moment. So once we got to that point, I was able to lay out all the options we had for her. Just educating her on the whole process, comparing the comps in the area to where they would maybe need to be. And from there, we were able to agree on a price that was comfortable for her.
That's golden. Now, we talked a lot about identifying how we can best serve the people we're called to serve. And we stress this every week, in our calls, in our training, is up front, let's not even talk about the sale. Let's not dive into price or anything else. Our main objective is to build that relationship. Once we iron out the relationship, we have that rapport built. It's going to give you a foundation to stand on so that when you open up the comps and you're talking price, you can really dial in and figure out how we can best serve these people, right? Another thing is people like options. So the more that you can identify and really come to an understanding of their situation, then you can identify how you can best serve them. Do you need fast cash? Do you need out? We can make you a cash offer, which is going to be a little bit lower than retail would be, right? If seller financing makes more sense and you want to do more of like a monthly installment payment, which we can consider mailbox money, we might be able to give you a little bit more money on terms. Of course, listing, if you have an agent on the team, is always a good place to be. But primary goal is just to identify how we can best serve the people we're called to serve. And Trey is just nailing that down. He's sniping it when he meets with these people because he's on target. He knows exactly where he needs to be. And before anything else, he's building that relationship and following that sales funnel to figure out how we can iron out more contracts. Let's take a look around the house real quick.
We got a video. Let's do a video.
Let's run through what we got going on in here, Mike.
Oh goodness, actually working under Mike, but we decided to close off the fireplace. We boarded that up. Along with the new AC system in the hallway, we put a new vent intake in, which could actually double as a shelf. And that's pulling a great amount of air. You guys did a good idea thinking about replacing the floor and putting carpet in. We just have a few trans strips left to do in between the rooms themselves.
New tiles in the bathroom. This tub had some holes in it in the siding, so we put the tub surround, got a new toilet. Only thing about it, the kitchen is pretty tight. There's not a whole lot of space in here. We got a small little countertop. The washer hookup, oddly enough, is in the kitchen, which is kind of a weird layout. Ideally, we might end up trying to put a fridge in that gap, but again, it's pretty tight. But this house, it was an $11,000 acquisition. We're probably in $8,000 on the rehab, and we'll rent it out for $800, right? So not a bad return on your investment when you look at what that can come out to. Let's talk about the work in progress in life, growth, business. What are your takes on it?
Very wise man before me said, in order to succeed in business, you must fail first. And I think everybody needs to go through some sort of failures, because without failures, you have no learning that happens. You may think you have it all, and you may have a good plan, but if you don't institute and fail at your plan, you never know how to fine tune in order to succeed at that plan. And there's no fast track to it. You've got to take one step at a time and one day at a time, and not be in a hurry. That's the biggest key to any of it, is to not be in a hurry, because there's no fast anything. Anything that's fast is not good. There's always going to be a setback that's going to happen, and there's always going to be that negative that you can plan for and have a contingency for, but you wouldn't know unless you fail. So it's very important that you have to fail, once, twice, several times before you succeed, because otherwise you'll never learn the lessons that you need to learn to make the modifications that you need to take in order to be on a successful track.
Wise words right there.
I was asking 155.
Yeah, that's crazy. We need to definitely have a chat with the call team and have a clear understanding when someone's asking price is far greater than we can make it.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling. I told Alex that yesterday or the day before, he transferred one out of 8.
That makes sense.
Property assessed value was like 14,000. The guy was asking like 150. So when he told me, he sent me the address in Slack, I pulled it up. I was like, oh, he's just pulling your leg.
Yep.
Pulling just some random number out there.
That's my thought, bro, because when people are getting called, we're running through the script. Hi, so-and-so, just calling to see if you're interested in selling your house.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to take them seriously, especially if they have a little bit of an accent with the VAs, right? So they're probably saying bogus numbers just to pull your arm.
Yeah, so I
right?
took the transfer, but obviously he was
I used to
like,
get people
yeah.
when
He was
I
like, I
sold
don't
cars.
sell based off of the comps. I sell off of my house
My
and
value.
what's in it.
That's crazy. All right, we're jumping in real quick just to run down the sales process from start to finish, and Trey's experience the past 3 months of really ironing it out, building rapport with the sellers, and taking them down that funnel so that we can execute the sale at the end. So let's talk about the progression of when you first started, meeting with sellers, talking with people. This was actually one of the first houses that you locked up.
Yeah.
Was
this
it
was
the
about
first or the second?
This was the second house I locked up, actually.
Pine Needle was first, huh?
Yeah, Pine Needle was first. About my third week out on the job. Just that first step, you just want to build that rapport. So we like to be people over profit, so we want to focus on building that relationship from the start. And from there, it's pretty simple. Once you get that wall down, you can dig a little deeper and find that pain point. And once you get that, you just, take a little stab at it here and there during the conversation with the seller. And from there, you can get them to a place where, they appreciate you, they appreciate your honesty. You educate them throughout the whole process, tell them next steps. And from there, you can get them to a number that's comfortable for them and you, and make it a win-win situation.
I think that's huge. It's a balancing act, because one, you're pulling out their pain point, right? They're going through foreclosure or have an inherited property. So you're asking them, what does this look like? How does it feel?
Right.
What are you currently going through? You're relating with their situation, right? Coming down to a mutual level where we can identify how we can serve them. And then on the other side of the token, you're encouraging them to lead as much as possible so that they're going to lay their cards out and tell you exactly what they're going through and how we can best serve them.
Exactly.
Right? And once you're able to identify what that pain point is, like you said, you're just poking it, right? You're asking them, well, what's the next step? What would you do if you couldn't sell this? And you want to paint a picture within their mind so that they could vividly imagine, because your mind's a powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
And just talking about psychology, you can imagine what that might look like and feel like if they're unable to solve this problem, right? So you're building the relationship, and then you're kind of pushing back and showing them this is what it's like. Yeah. We understand, we can relate. We deal with people like this all the time, and then you come in for the kill, right?
And when you get to that point, you can also do it when it comes to, when you break that wall down, you can get it when it comes to the cash. you want them to visualize what they'll be doing with the money.
That's huge.
So when you ask them early on in the conversation, like, what would you possibly do if you're looking to sell? If they say, oh, I wanted to, travel the world, or I want to help my family out.
Yeah.
You focus on that in the latter part of the conversation, so they can visually see themselves doing that same action.
Wow.
it basically brings them across that finish line.
Right.
Yeah.
It pulls them out of their current situation, outside of the pain, removes the burden, and they can actually visualize and picture what it looks like after they've reached that end result.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Which is huge.
It's essential.
And you think that literally our lives were the product of our most consistent thoughts, right? So what you think of expands, right?
Yeah.
And the more that you can relate with people, walk through situations, and then picture what it's like for them to be sitting on that beach or along with their family, not stressing about being behind on mortgage payments, right? Then you just iron it out. And once that emotion is sparked up, obviously they're going to want to do business.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And at that point, you already built a relationship. They like you, and it's easy.
That's huge.
Easy from there.
That's huge. Yeah, Trey's taking strides forward in building rapport. And right now, this is the importance of having like a laser sharp focus, because one person cannot cover all aspects of a business. There's just too many moving parts, right? So in his days, if he can just jump on the phone and his main goal is just to build rapport. He's calling these people. They say it takes 5 to 7 touches on average to get a contract, right? So he's following up every couple days. Hey, Miss Jones, hey, Mr. John Doe, just wanted to follow up and see how everything is going. We're focused on the relationship and not even discussing the sale. The sale comes later. If we've built the rapport in the relationship, then obviously the next step, they're going to entrust us with their house.
Yes, sir.
It's that easy.
Yes, sir.
Sweet. So I love watching the process unfold, because the essence of life is growth, right? Everything is either growing or it's dying. And as you see your team growing and building and the pipeline stacking up, opportunities are coming your way, it just makes you realize that this is literally the top of the iceberg. And the more that you dig and work on personal development, like, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, you really can.
That's huge.
I learned while I was selling cars, after having never sold cars before that, I had a really good mentor. He was the finance guy, and he gave me some valuable lessons about cars. He told me, you can get a job at Best Buy, and you can be very successful selling products at Best Buy because of product knowledge and passion for the area that you're in. He said, but cars and items of that sort, he said, it's a little bit different market. What it is that you're not selling a car, you're not selling yourself. You're letting them sell themselves to you. And he gave me a valuable lesson and these tests to show this. And one of them, he said, during the course of the conversation, don't talk about the cars, don't show them a car, don't show them anything. Have a conversation with them and let them tell you about themselves, their favorite sports teams, what's going on with their family, and anything else going on in their life, because people feel very comfortable being with you after they're allowed to explain themselves and talk about themselves. You're no longer the enemy at that point. And he said, I'm going to give you some examples and some experiments to do. He said, while you're going out there and you let them talk to you about themselves, 15 minutes into the conversation, cross your arms and see what they do. So I went and tried it, and they crossed their arms, and I got all excited. And later on, I went back and told them, hey, yeah, they followed me. He said, get them to do that 3 times. Do 3 different things. So I went out there and did the same thing. I crossed my arms. They did that. I leaned against the car. They did that. Put my hands in my pockets. They did that. He told me, as soon as they do that on the 3rd time, don't let them object to anything. Go inside the building. Just say, hey, come with me. And sit them down and get a credit check on them. And it worked every single time. And I asked him why so. He said, it's all about perception. And perception is the key to everything. From the minute you're born, you perceive. You're intaking all of this stimuli, whether it's visual, audio, the sense of smell, taste, touch. But the thing about it is you don't know how to interpret these perceptions into something usable. You're taught that throughout your life. So perception is the key to everything. Now, being in sales, it's all about relationships. It's not about what it is that you're selling. You're not selling yourself. You're selling your time more than anything, and that's the most valuable asset is the time that you invest into them, because people enjoy talking to themselves, or they need to. Sometimes people just want to have an outlet, and the more they speak about themselves, the more comfortable they feel with you, because now you're this sponge absorbing all this information, whether it's useful or not to your pitch is up to you, because again, that's perception. Perception is the key to understanding, and the more that we allow people to speak, the more you can perceive of their personalities, their hot spots, their sweet spots, their things that they're passionate about, what they have emotional response to. And 90% of decisions that are made are based off an emotional response. It's the happy spots that you can tickle. And sometimes the sad spots work to an advantage too, because they're an outlet for them. They want to get it off their chest. And sometimes people just want people to listen to them, whether they can help them or not. They want people to listen to them. And you'll find out a lot about people. You'll find out a lot about the best way to communicate with people, because people will let you know what's okay, how to talk to them. I had a good experience at a Jiffy Lube. I managed a Jiffy Lube, and there was a guy come in. He was a diehard military guy. He had spent 27 years in the military. He was a special forces guy, and he was a commander. And when this guy came in, the guys who were there before me, they're like, "Oh man, I don't even want to try to sell this guy any kind of services. He's like, he's kind of a dick." And I said, "Well, give me a try." So I went over, I had a little conversation with him, and I immediately could tell, being a military brat myself, that he was a diehard military guy. There's no gray areas with this guy. It's a here, now, this is what it is or not. And I want him as a customer because, I allowed him, he's the kind of guy that stood in the window watching every service being done on his car. So I made sure that he understood that I knew what he was looking for, because while he was watching the service being done on his car, even though he couldn't hear what I was doing, I was on the other side of the window pointing and giving orders specifically what to do on this gentleman's car. And he respected that, because he commanded authority, because he wanted an order and a structure to everything. And the only way I knew that was to have a conversation with this guy. And during the course of the conversation with this guy, I could tell that he was a no frills, it needs to be done correctly, and this is how you do it kind of guy. So I knew in order to win him over that I couldn't be like, just grab a seat and we'll make sure you're okay. But I went out there and I took command of his vehicle, so that he's seen that, hey, you know what, his vehicle is being serviced properly, because I listened to what he had to say. And that won him as a customer. He never went to any other store, and if I wasn't at that store, he would not have his car serviced that day. And that's just because I built a rapport with him by having a conversation, and let me hear about him and his experiences in life. And that allowed me the ability to have a complete understanding of him. And I think that's the biggest help in sales anywhere. And even if it's not a tangible item that you're selling, if it's a service that you're selling, then it all comes into play. Everything is the same. It's all about communication, perception, and understanding. And the only way you do that is to let people talk about them. They'll let you know what their wants, needs, wishes, desires, goals, the whole 9 yards. And it's just a matter of knowing how to ask at that point.
Boom. That's the art of relationship building, brought to you by Magic Mike.